Hey everyone, how's it going? I hope you're all doing great and following the 3 H's of the channel. In this video, the encounters I have for you are really bizarre, and one of them is kinda cool. So, if that sounds like something you're interested in, pull up a stump with me, and let's get into it. Thank you for watching. This happened quite a few years ago, way up in North Boise. I haven't seen anything like it since, and it was a major factor in me getting my concealed carry. This is not the only weird thing that's happened while I was doing papers, but it takes top spot easily. So back when I was a newspaper delivery guy, I didn't have a car, so I had to deliver all the papers on foot, while my friend that had a car would deliver his on his own route. I was delivering down the darkest street of my route. I got this feeling like I should look behind me, and sure as hell, there's something walking across the street. It was just a silhouette, but the only way I can describe it is it had the posture of a jackal from Halo. At some point it stops walking and starts sprinting across this big-ass yard. I thought this was super weird, but I couldn't just not deliver my papers. I delivered to a few more houses while doing my best to pay attention to what's going on around me. I realized that whatever this is following me through people's yards because it occasionally makes noise as it's going through bushes. Eventually though, fear does take over and I'm less focused on doing my deliveries. I take out my knife and I march my now thoroughly spooked ass to my dead drop where another 50 pounds of papers is waiting under a street light. As soon as I get there, I drop the papers that I have left and I stand in the center of the light with my knife visibly out. I can still hear this thing moving around in the bushes. It's like it's pacing for a bit, and then nothing. I'm getting the idea that it's just observing me, watching me from somewhere in the darkness. I stood there for a good 30 minutes, doing my best anteater come at me bro impression. I pick up the dead drop and my other papers and I try to deliver the houses that I missed because I do need that money. I deliver the rest of the route with no issues, other than that feeling of dread. The second big kind of scare that happened was much more recent than that one, and it was about 2.5 miles to the east in one of the neighborhoods off Bogus Basin Road. This one, I never even saw what was after me. By this point, I wasn't doing papers as regularly anymore, but my friend still was. At this specific time, my friend had just gotten married and he needed somebody to cover for him during his honeymoon. He offered more than full pay if I do it, and I could even borrow his sister's car. Unfortunately, at that same time, his sister's car had a crack in the coolant reservoir. The night this happens, I have to buy several gallons of water, and I keep having to stop regularly to not kill the car. I lose patience, and I deliver a couple houses on foot. I start hearing something big moving from tree to tree, following me, just like before. But this time, whatever it is, would have to be at least the size of a big-ass eagle, at minimum. Like I said before, this thing was on the ground, and it had been following me through the bushes, through the dark spots in people's yards. But this one was up in the trees. I would always see the branches shake, but I could never see what was doing it. I pour more water into the coolant reservoir and I get out of there. But the thing is, anytime I stop in that neighborhood, whether I'm in my car, whether I'm walking, I still hear the same thing, but nobody else seems to have heard it. Whatever it is must just like me. As far as other two events that happened, one of them was some dipshit playing a vigilante. He should have been thankful that I left my gun at home. While I was driving, he swerved into my lane to stop my car, and then got out yelling about stolen backpacks or something. But he apologized profusely after I chucked a paper at him and shouted paper delivery. Apparently, he thought that I was some teenagers that were also in a white car that were seen stealing from unlocked vehicles. He pointed a bright-ass light at me that could have very easily been a weapon light. Under those circumstances, it's pretty dangerous to do that. You can get shot here by doing such a thing. Another one was some random guy just standing in the middle of the road in a really dark spot. I only saw him because the hill behind him was lit up by porch lights. The weirdest part about it was that he always had his back to me, and I would have had to go that way and go by him if that house hadn't cancelled the week before. The weirdest part is, too, a lot of the stuff that I just mentioned right now all happened in the same week. So this is not some fantastical or amazing story, but it is interesting because it makes me wonder about exactly what is out there. I was about 10 to 12 years old. I was a very outdoorsy kid. I loved exploring and being in the woods, all that kind of stuff. My mom takes me and my sister to my grandpa's way up in northern Ontario. I was excited for this as I don't usually ever get to see my grandpa. Him and my mom are not that close, but he's literally the flannel shirt, fishing hat, stereotypical Canadian grandpa. He lives far enough out there that he's in a portaging area. If you don't know, Canada originally became a country from the original fur trappers landing on the east coast, traveling to what is now Ontario for beavers and trapping them. They soon realized it was much faster to carry the canoes from lake to lake rather than just walking around them. There are so many lakes in Canada that they don't even bother naming them all. My grandpa lives in an area like this. Lakes every couple of kilometers, most of them not even named or mapped. It was my 10-year-old paradise. I fish, I swim, in general just have a great time. One day my Gramps takes me out on a boat and we don't catch anything. My Gramps calls it and takes us in, but young enthusiastic me doesn't want to call it just yet. I ask him if I can fish off the dock. He says it's fine, but I probably won't get anything off of this dock. He walks me to the edge of the property and shows me a trail. He says it's only 20 minutes to the lake that has a much nicer dock and is quieter as no one lives on that lake, so maybe I'll get something other than sunfish. He gives me a couple of worms, and off I go. I get to the lake. It's absolutely deserted, but there is a nice enough narrow little dock that's just big enough for me to fish off of, so I do. I don't remember how long I fished, but it couldn't have been very long. I was just looking out into the middle of the lake, just relaxing, not really catching anything. Everything was perfectly still. And then I noticed something. Movement. Maybe 30 meters out from the dock and to the left. An absurdly large fish. It's lazily surfaced, and it's still moving forward, directly into my view. All of this happens in less than a second, but as my brain and eyes catch up, I get a good look at this thing. It's pretty long, and it has 4 short, stocky appendages. It moves through the water like a snake, but it's very relaxed and rolls onto its side, at which point it must see me. It gives me an almost annoyed, more aggressive flick of its tail and shoots forward at blinding speed. It does so fast that it looked like it disappeared, but I also see it disappear to my right, where it obviously swam off. But the way it looked at me for that split second, it looked smart, intelligent, like it didn't want me to see it. I know what you're thinking, that this is the part of the story where I realize or find out that it's fake. But, hear me out. Is it so crazy for a larger organism with near hypersensitive perception to exist? Many times I've been walking through the woods to a fishing spot or a body of water. I'm a backpacking fisherman. Something I have learned is that you need to sneak up to the water's edge. The amount of times I've come up to some water and heard fish of large size get spooked and swim off to somewhere else in the lake, much deeper, while I'm still around the corner, not even in sight, is countless, and I walk lightly, yet somehow they still know I'm there. And in that case, that's just lake trout and stuff like that as well. Have you ever spotted a beaver or a bobcat? Imagine a bobcat in the water. You would never see one. It sounds crazy, but I think I saw some type of advanced species of other marine organism. I didn't get into what it looked like, but here I go. If I had to hazard a guess, I would guess it was over 6 feet. It had four stumpy legs kind of tucked into its body, while it propelled with its tail. Appeared webbed, but I'm not sure. The legs in proportion almost reminded me of a stereotypical wiener dog, almost comically short. It had dark brown fur that covered its body, the same murky shade as the bottom of the lake. Its skull was arrowhead shaped, almost like a snake. The creature itself moved like a snake, but really, any aquatic animal swims that way, especially at that length, and I'm not really sure if it was reptilian or not. After seeing this, I immediately know that something was wrong with that. I ran back to my grandpa and I tell him. He seems kinda like whatever about it. He says it was probably an otter. I say, no, it wasn't. He then hands me a big book from his shelf, basically an encyclopedia of all animals in North America, specifically Canada. I pore over this book for the next week and find nothing. I want to believe that it was truly an undiscovered species in the middle of nowhere. And no, it wasn't a sea or lake otter. It wasn't a sturgeon. Don't even at me with that. I've heard that so many times as an explanation. That's not what I saw. But yeah, it's not super scary, it's just more interesting. There's no spooky stuff, it didn't attack me, and I've never seen it again. But this is a 100% true story, and I know what I saw. This all happened 20 minutes outside of Selkirk, Manitoba. It was around 2008 or 2009. I was in grade 12. My friend got permission to use his uncle's hunting cabin for the weekend. It was more of a shack. The thing was like 50 by 50. 5 of us decided to have a guy's weekend. No cell phones, no girlfriends, and no one complaining or telling us that we can't do something. The first day, we all get drunk and smoke a bunch of weed. Our one friend got in his underwear for some reason. When he turned to walk away from us, he revealed a huge skid mark. This is not really important to the story. I just really wanted to roast my friend for a second and point out that he quite literally shat himself. Anyways, we wasted the rest of that day doing stupid teenager stuff. That night of the first day, we're all just sitting around talking, and then we hear something. It's this really light tapping at the door. We sit in silence for a minute or two, and we ignore it, and we try to continue talking. After another couple of minutes of talking, we hear a slam on the door, and I mean it was enough to shake the walls of the cabin. We all dive into the nearest room, and after 20 minutes of being scared as hell, we eventually forget about it and drift off to sleep because nothing further happened. I'm the first to wake up, and I can hear leaves crunching outside. I was too scared to go and look out the window. I waited for the crunching to leave before I got up. Opening the door to step outside, I noticed a shitload of crushed beetles on the step. At the time, I didn't think anything of it, but thinking back on it, it still doesn't make any sense. We spent the rest of the day smoking and drinking the rest of what we had. We realized pretty quickly that we were dry of funds, dry of booze, and everything else, so we decided to end the trip prematurely. I was just happy to get the hell away after that bang the night before. So we're all packed up, and it's around 11 p.m. It's extremely dark outside. My friend wants me to come with him to turn off the generator at the back of the cabin. As we're walking around back, I flash my flashlight through the woods. At the time, I wasn't looking for any cryptids of any kind. I'm actually ass scared of bears, so I'm always looking around for one that's about to slap my shit whenever I'm out in the woods. As we get back to the cabin, I do a sweep, and then I see something. It's about 30 feet away, and it's watching us from behind a tree. I keep walking, but my light is frozen on this thing. It was an all-white, hairless, frail-looking man thing. It was white, hairless, and had really long fingers. No nose to speak of, or many features I could see, but it did have these really dark eyes, and it must have been about 5 feet tall. It still creeps me out to this day to even remember seeing it. Anyways, I have to move my flashlight to the generator so he can see what he's doing. he shuts it off, and I flash my light back to the woods to see that this thing is gone. I can't tell where it went. As we're walking back, I say something along the lines of, "Hey, hurry the hell up, there's something out in the woods." We both briskly walk back to the van and jump in. As we're pulling out of the driveway, and I'm in the middle of telling them what just happened, when my friend yells out, "What the F is that? Effing go, what the hell?" We peel away, and he says that he saw the same thing that I did coming toward us from the front of the cabin. I got him to describe it before finishing my story, and he described exactly what I saw in the woods. It still freaks me out thinking about it. I know it's not some crazy story like some of these other ones you hear, but it scared the hell out of all of us, and I don't ever want to see that again. I don't live in a very rural area. Where I live, it's sort of near the shore, but the land on it has lots of woods and it's very marsh-filled. If you've ever seen those really dynamite-blasted rocks in the woods, there's a shit ton of that. Anyways, at the time of this, I was relatively young, and since it's a nice spot in some parts of the woods, I figure I want to set up a place so that me and my friends can go there. Now, my friends aren't lazy or anything, but they never really follow through on anything they plan. So me, being Mr. Nice Guy, I decide that I'll go in the woods and set up the camp for them. It's winter break, and I've got to hike pretty far into the woods before I find a flat clearing right on top of this rock. It's overlooking the woods. By the time I'm there and setting up, it's already getting darker, and those woods look really creepy at this point. I don't think much of it, but I decided that I couldn't see anything and that I should probably be heading back. But this is where I did something stupid. Like, instead of just following the trail, I decided to try and find my own, and I walked really far off of it. So once I got all of my stuff set up and shit packed, my stomach dropped once I realized that I was lost. I had no idea where I was. I panicked and tried to call someone so that they could come and help me out, to pick me up somewhere on the road leading to that trail so I don't have to carry all this stuff back in the dark. Now, I don't really buy alien or cryptid stories. I'm really more of a ghost guy myself, I guess. I was looking out while the phone was ringing into the woods. Now, this rock was overlooking a sort of valley, and the way the sun was shining through, the orange-red light mixed with shadows really sucked the details out, and then I saw what I thought was a rock next to this bush. So while I'm trying to get a hold of someone, suddenly what I thought was a rock gets up. It gets up like it were a person sitting crouched in a ball and stepped behind this rock formation. It was really hard to see, but it didn't really look like a person. It was the same size, but there was just something weird about how it moved, and it lacked any sort of clothes by the look of it. Now mind you, it's wintertime, it's very cold, and the way it did move, it kept facing toward me, and I could have sworn it was peeking out from behind the cluster of trees and rocks. So I freeze up, and I stop what I'm doing and yell out, which I thought was pretty rude at the time. I genuinely assumed it was somebody screwing with me at the time. I tried to call one of my friends, but none of them are picking up, and very quickly did I realize that not only were they not picking up, the service was also out in my particular area, so these calls just weren't being completed. So I start moving away from the site. Now, like I said, I didn't believe in any cryptid stories, but what I heard was not human. I thought of it as like a jet going overhead at first, but it seemed softer and more drawn out, and when I turned around, what I saw was the most terrifying thing I've ever seen in my life. It was hard to see, but somehow it was staring through this cluster of trees just a few feet from me now. I could see its fingers and hands gripping the sides of the trees, and its face was half obstructed through it all. I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me, but one of those hands slid down the tree. It was so freaky how it almost seemed shy, like how it wanted to be near me, but it was afraid to get too close, almost like a little kid. When I said out loud, "Who's there?" it leaned over and peeked out from behind the cluster of trees, and those eyes were freaky, not like a person's. It was like they were almost protruding from its head. At that point, I just turned and booked it back to where I thought I came from. I didn't even feel winded or had any concept of time when I was running. I even managed to really screw up my ankle, and I didn't even realize until I eventually got to the road. By the time I got inside my car, I realized that I was crying, and that was pretty much the first thing I did when I got home. When I was checking out my ankle to see what I did to it, I was going back over everything that happened. It was really hard to see, but it didn't really look like a person. It was kind of the same size, but it was just there. I didn't sleep at all that night. I didn't tell anyone about what I saw, and I never really got that stuff back until months later during the summer. When I went there, the stuff managed to be still up, but most of it had been rummaged through more than once, it looked like, and had been strewn about. The tent was ruined, although honestly, I think that was because of a storm or other animals. I never go camping when those friends did go, and that weird-ass growl or noise still sticks with me. I can't even describe it. So what did you think about those encounters? What do you think that he saw up in Canada? What about in Selkirk, Manitoba? And do you think that what was seen out in the woods in the wintertime was a troll or something like that? What was the thing in the woods by the camp? Of course, what do you think was in the trees when he was delivering newspapers? All really good questions. Let me know what you think it was down in the comments. Also, let me know if you did anything special for Halloween. And if you live in a residential area that gets lots of kids being dressed up for Halloween, let me know which one was your favorite costume. I always love seeing the costumes that the kids come up with these days. Where I live, we don't get too many trick-or-treaters or anything because we're kind of off in the woods, but we still have like stuff out around the community nearby, and I go to that to see what they're all dressing up as. They're really creative. I never would have thought of half of these whenever I was a kid. I was more dressing up like a soldier, or dressing up like Superman, or Batman, or any other superhero. What's funny enough is that one year, I was 12 or 13, I believe, and me and my friend got the bright idea to like dress up as robbers. And even just saying that out loud, you can tell how dumb we were, but we were super excited because nobody else was dressing up like a robber until we got to a guy's house and we went in the wrong entrance and he thought we were robbers. It was what a crazy misunderstanding that one was. Maybe I'll tell that story sometime on the channel. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did enjoy it and you're not already, like and subscribe. And yeah, if you want to donate to the channel, there's links in the description. That's a link in the description. There's memberships and super thanks here on YouTube, as well as the hype feature here on YouTube that I don't quite know what it does yet, but I'll figure it out. Either way, if you want to use one of your hypes on one of my videos, as always, and I've said 100,000 times and I'm going to keep saying it, I am extremely grateful for all of it. So, with that, I hope you enjoyed the videos this week. I hope you had a happy Halloween. Thank you for pulling up a stump. Thank you for watching. Have a good week, and I'll see you in the next one.